This video is all about river management, in particular soft engineering. Now, the first one we're going to start off with are flood warnings. Now, flood warnings involve monitoring weather patterns and river levels to predict when floods are likely to occur, and these messages will be sent out via the media and via people's phones to give them advance warning to prepare or evacuate. Now, this is good because it gives people time to prepare, to evacuate and protect their property, and most likely move possessions upstairs. It's cost effective as it's fairly cheap, and once it's set up, and it will also reduce casualties. However, there's a possibility of false alarms, which may cause unnecessary panic, limited protection. They don't really do anything to prevent flooding, they only allow people to respond to the event, and it also relies and depends on accurate data and technology, which could also fail, reducing its effectiveness. We've then got afforestation, which involves the planting of trees in the river's catchment area. Trees obviously absorb rainwater through their roots. We know this is infiltration, but they also intercept rainwater using their leaves, and this obviously decreases surface runoff, which ultimately slows down the flow of water to the river, therefore reducing the level of water in the river. It's obviously sustainable, it reduces erosion as we know that roots bind the soil together, and it will also improve biodiversity. It can create wildlife habitats. However, the land used for afforestation may not be available for things such as farming or development, which could create a conflict in terms of land use. It takes years and even decades to grow to a full maturity for a tree, so it's obviously a slow process. We then have river restoration, which is essentially restoring the river back to its natural state, often by removing artificial barriers like dams or channel straightening, or even concrete channels like embankments. And this just allows it to enhance its biodiversity, creating habitats for wildlife. By restoring natural features like meanders or wetlands, rivers can absorb more water, reducing the risk of flooding downstream. And its long term sustainability. River restoration is sustainable and eco-friendly solution that helps in the long term by restoring natural processes that manage flood risks. However, restoration projects can be expensive. They require significant investment for the planning, the engineering, and the implementation. The river restoration may cause temporary disruption to local communities and businesses too. We then last have floodplain zoning. Now, this is essentially planning out the area around a river. So you're restricting development, you're building houses furthest away, keeping that floodplain land for farming. And the whole point of this is to minimise damage. It prevents buildings being flooded, prevents property damage, and it also encourages sustainable land use, maintaining those natural floodplains and habitats while also reducing flood risk. It will also reduce insurance costs in those areas. However, restricting the land can limit opportunities for new developments, and it may be unpopular with businesses or developers as they're wanting to make as much money as possible, but they're not allowed to build in certain places. So it can obviously have economic disruption as well. So you've got all of these different strategies. So like the hard engineering, there's four. You need to know these four. You need to know what they do and the costs and benefits, and be able to recognise them as well in case you get given a figure.